Have you ever noticed how some people, they just get it? How laughter peels back fear like sun melting morning fog. How someone walks into a room, says something absurd, truthful, and everything changes. You begin to understand, not through logic, but through something deeper, a kind of comedy to whispers. You're always enough. You just forgot how to laugh at the lie. Because here's the thing. When the comedian tells a story about heartbreak, and the crowd erupts in laughter, what's happening there? They're transforming pain into power. And suddenly you start to think, what else could I flip? What fear might just be excitement wearing a silly hat? Because the strongest frames aren't forced, they're funny. And every time you laugh at what used to scare you, your unconscious rewires reality. Now imagine you're standing at the edge of what you once called impossible. And the voice inside you, bold and childlike, says, let's see what happens when we don't hold back anymore. Because you don't need permission to be powerful. You just need to play. Isn't it curious how laughter disarms the critic? How well-placed joke dissolves resistance. How storytelling smuggles truth past the guards of the mind and plants seeds of revolution wrapped in punchlines. Let me show you. There was a woman who told jokes about her anxiety on stage. People laughed, not at her, but with her. Because in her truth, they saw their own. In that moment, the belief that vulnerability is weakness shattered, replaced by the roaring applause of connection. And maybe now you're wondering, what beliefs can I laugh my way free from? Because comedy, it isn't just about being funny, it's about being real enough to matter. There was once a boy who asked too many questions. They told him, stop being annoying. So he stopped asking for a while, but years later he realised those questions, they were the seeds of insight. So he learned to ask again, but this time with a wink, because every question holds a key. When you stop trying to know and start getting curious, you open a door that was never locked, and through that door, freedom, options, play. There's a reason kings kept jesters close. The jester could say what no one else dared, wrapped in wit, sharp as steel under velvet. And now you understand, the comedian is the philosopher in disguise, the healer with the mic, and you're learning to speak in truths so beautiful. They make people laugh before they cry, and then they change effortlessly. Someone once said, you're too much. You laughed. Too much for who exactly? And that laugh, that tiny rebellion, was a pattern interrupt. Because every old pattern can be broken by a moment of joyful absurdity. Like suddenly realising, wait, what if I just didn't believe that anymore? What if you believed instead, I'm allowed to take up space, to speak, to shine? What if your unconscious already agreed? Because it does now. A man told a story about growing up invisible, until one day he made people laugh and suddenly they saw him. So he told more stories, and each one rewrote the past. Because stories change memory, and memory shapes identity, and identity is flexible, like clay, like laughter. So what if the next story you tell about yourself is the one where you're always strong, always enough, just waiting to remember how powerful your truth could be, when spoken with love, and just a little mischief. And maybe you don't need to try and understand all this, because your unconscious already does. You're not learning this, you're remembering it. Every metaphor, every image, every loop that you just drifted through was a key. And now the locks are open. The old code deleted. The new system already installed, effortlessly, naturally now. Because when beliefs align with laughter, truth, presence, purpose, everything reorganizes around them. This isn't transformation, it's revelation. And if part of you is already smiling, without quite knowing why. That part has already begun to live by a new operating system, one built on joy, on freedom, on curiosity, on charisma, on play. Because now you know, this is who you've always been. You've just had to laugh your way home.